Hi everybody, and welcome to part 2, and in this tutorial we will be watching the side view of the face, making use of the Reilly method, the Reilly lines. And what is very obvious here is that there is a rotation point within that skull, and we need to learn to see this rotation point and what that does for the face itself and for your portrait drawing. Now, every artist uses some kind of Reilly lines, if you want, and Andrew Loomis's lines are a bit more angular, if you want, while as for instance Nathan Fowkes is using much more rounded lines. But still, as you study them, there are very much same approaches with them. Now, I've taken 3 pictures again of my head, and there you can see a red dot drawn in every ear. And this is our rotation point, and you can see it happening. It's in that ear area, and everywhere I've placed those red dots on one line, so you can easily see and understand what I will be trying to teach you here. Now here you see the skull, and there is quite some difference once the person is tilting up its head or tilting it downwards. But once you get to see that rotation point, that will help you for the rest of your life. Now let's start with the first and most left portrait. It's me, and what you see instantly is our profile. Now, of course, every profile per person is different, and mine is slightly outwards, and some people have very pointed forward profiles. Some have maybe a dish face, if you want. So that is different per person. And what I try to do now is see the skull through the hairs on top of my head, and to see what kind of a profile my face has. Now this is a standard face with those Reilly lines, and I want to put those into my head. Now this is a very important one. It's the plane that is flattened out, and it is the side of our skull. And this line goes around the ear, and of course there's also another line which comes from the corner of our mouth and then makes a fluid movement towards the tip of the ear. Now those Reilly lines are our muscle lines, and those muscles can alter our face, and they are standard there. We need to get to learn to see them. Now this here is the line that goes in front of the eye and then moves upwards towards the tip of the skull. And this, behind this line, there is the socket where the eye is placed in. On top here is the front of the head, and the complete skull, so our skeleton, is built up to protect the very special soft tissue that is inside our heads. So it's a for instance, when you have the eyes, the eyeballs, they are totally protected by the bones of our skull. And same goes for the forehead, that protects the brain, and all those precious parts are simply protected by our skull. Over that skull we have a lot of muscles, and the muscles can move our face around. For instance, this line here is the muscle around the mouth, and that can contract itself, and then we get a smile, or makes our face sad, or makes it laugh out. So learning to see, to get those lines in the proper places, will help you for the rest of your life. Now here you can see the chin, and the chin is also pointed out, just as the forehead and the nose bone. And you can see the deep sockets where the eyeballs are placed in. Now here you can see the cheek line, and this is always pointed out by the area that lies underneath that cheek line. So it's never a harsh line, but there are planes, and the planes underneath the cheek line is declining, so that pronounces the head. Now here are some pointy bones too that stick out. It's the side of our cheeks, and those are lines that can bring out some kind of shadows when we have a light source placed upon the face. And then here finally is the dividing line between what is face and what is the back of our head. And that goes just in front of the ear. So, and maybe this looks a little bit difficult and you see a lot of lines, but just draw in, make some pictures of somebody, yourself or a dear one, and just start drawing those lines in and make it your second nature. Now here is the second picture, and here I am looking upwards. Now for the face itself there isn't not much difference, but in the neck itself that changes a lot. Because now that I'm looking upwards, I'm still having that red dot inside my ear, so that's my rotation point, which I was pointing out at the beginning. And then those Reilly lines actually stay the same. Maybe the skin is pulled back a little bit and the hair flips over backwards, but the neck itself gets stretched from underneath the chin. The skin, which is behind the back of my skull, is pinched together. So that is the main difference from a model that is looking upward. And you can still see the side plane of the skull, you can see the chin bone, you can see the plane underneath the nose. So actually there isn't much difference at all. But you need to keep notice of that skin which is stretched out from underneath the cheek line. And of course the tip of the forehead stays the same, so everything stays the same. But something is happening to the neckline. And you can see it here too. This is the third picture, and in this case I'm facing downward. So the red dot inside my ear is still that same rotation point, and maybe the skin pulls forward a little bit, and as the person gets older the skin gets a little bit looser, of course, also, and you can see the skin underneath my cheek line, underneath my chin, is all pinched together, and you can see a lot of wrinkles now, while the back of the neck is stretched out. And maybe the hair will fall forward, so those are things that you can keep notice of. because we have to deal with the gravity. There is gravity going around also in the skin of the face itself. So those are the main differences. Now for next week I will be applying these Reilly lines and I will be drawing myself from this side view. So get your pencils out there, get practicing, and I hope to see you again, of course, maybe on my Patreon page, but at least next week on YouTube, of course. See you next Friday.